Hello, thanks for watching. In this video, I'm going to be talking about virtual choir song video production. What is a virtual choir? Who are the people who are making virtual choir song videos? Why would they do that? How to make a virtual choir song video and what the benefits might be of such a project. A lot to go through, so let's check it out. There certainly can be a lot of moving parts with a virtual choir song video project, but I'm hoping that you're watching this in preparation for making your own, and I hope you'll find that it's a really rewarding thing to do. But maybe you've been fasting from Facebook and YouTube for the last while. Let's make sure we know what a virtual choir song video is, and simply put, a virtual choir is a group of singers who have sung together without actually being physically in the same room together. They've used technology and the internet to record vocal performances of a song separate from each other, maybe in their own homes, and those video recordings have been brought together by a central hub, which might be a producer or a conductor, who compiles all those separate videos into a single choral performance that is released typically on YouTube and Facebook. The virtual choir is sometimes called an online choir or even a home choir, and they've been around since about 2009. But who are the people who are making these virtual choir song videos? Yes, they've been around for quite a while now, but it was really in 2020 with the COVID-19 pandemic and the restrictions placed on the Christian churches' gatherings that saw a huge upsurge in the interest for making virtual choir song videos from people of the Christian faith. It seemed that many churches, now challenged with not being able to gather in the same room, still wanted to sing together, still wanted to invite their congregations to sing, and wanted to give projects, I guess, for their singers, instrumentalists and technicians who weren't involved, at least for a while, in normal Sunday gatherings. For my part, I first saw a virtual choir song video built around the song The Blessing, and that was one that was called the UK Blessing. And I saw here people of all different denominations across the United Kingdom who had decided, despite lockdown, to come together and to sing these songs, this song that was expressing the blessing of God, that may the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and give you peace. It really inspired me, and it seems like I wasn't alone in being inspired. That sort of triggered a huge surge in virtual choir videos coming from the Christian church. Many of these were around the song The Blessing. It actually started in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. That's the first one that I saw, built around this song that had been released just prior to the COVID-19 pandemic hitting from Elevation Church. But all different regions of the world, different people groups of the Christian faith decided to sing The Blessing together through a virtual choir. Malaysia, South Africa, Canada, sometimes it was states and cities like New York City or Hawaii, and there was a dance response and there was sign language. It was an amazing surge that really captivated me. And I decided that I wanted to get involved. Living in New Zealand, I checked around to see if New Zealand was getting a virtual choir song video for The Blessing together. And when I discovered that no one really was, at least on the national level, I decided to get involved and make that happen. And so I produced, with the help of a lot of other people, the Aotearoa Blessing. Aotearoa being a Māori term that actually means the land of the long white cloud. And that's, I guess, the first people's name for New Zealand. I'd love to share just a few moments of the virtual choir song video for The Blessing that I helped produce.
His face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace. Ai ho a koe, e mana ki e te tia ki, tōna mata e tia hoki a koe, e ata whai anō ki, nā iho tōna kanohi, e whakara ki a koe, e atau ai ko te aiotanga.
So why make a virtual choir song video? Well, obviously I wanted to get involved in this global movement of the Christian church. I think it was an amazing way that the Christian church was responding to a very tough year in 2020, to COVID-19 and other struggles, that we decided to sing together, even though there were restrictions on us doing so, and sing words of God's blessing. And I love that it was also showing a picture of church unity, of ethnic unity, and it was a beautiful thing to get involved with. And of course, us in the Christian faith, we have always highly valued this idea of singing together. We believe this is an important way of not just encouraging other believers, but also to show the worth or to worship God. And the Bible tells us to get together and sing. For example, Ephesians 5:19 tells us very clearly, speak to one another with psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit. Sing and make music from your heart to the Lord. And so I wanted to be involved with this, as I hope maybe you do. And I think part of the inspiration for all of us who are producing these virtual choir videos is this idea of connection. Connection with God and connection with each other. And that's what we wanted to be part of. All right, let's dig into the question of how to make a virtual choir song video. And in very general terms with a project like this, it's worth keeping this principle in mind. You know, there are kind of three things you can be shooting for. Three main things you can have as your goal with a project like this. One would be that it's going to be cheap. It's not going to cost much. The second would be fast. It comes out really quickly. And the third thing is high quality. And when I started my project of doing a virtual choir song video for the song The Blessing, I wanted all three. I had no money. I wanted to get it out really quickly, but I wanted it to be great. But I realized that that's just not possible. Not with this, and pretty much not with anything in life. We're going to have to sacrifice at least one. Now, I decided that there was no way I was going to get this song video out quickly. It took a lot longer than I expected. But I'm very happy with the results. Hey, did I achieve quality? I'll have to leave it to you to answer that. But that's what I decided to shoot for. If you're embarking on a project like this, I would suggest you really make sure you know who owns the copyright on the song that you're covering. I go to Song Select by CCLI to make sure of that. I found it to be the most reliable source of who the songwriters are, of the melody of the song, of the lyrics of the song, and also who owns the copyrights. And that's going to be important moving forward. We need to recognize that throughout. Because you can get into problems. We have to realize that we are making a cover version of a song that has come out of Elevation Worship. We are covering their song. We are not co-writing with them. We're going to make a sound recording of their song. We must avoid making what's called a derivative work. Look, I don't know how true this is, but I understand that the people who produced the UK blessing got into a bit of hot water because they inserted a rap within the song, the blessing, that's by Elevation, and that then makes it a derivative work. So let's keep this cleaner and simpler. Let's just do a cover version, not mess with the original songwriter's work. Now, this whole topic of copyright and publishing and songwriting can be a bit of a minefield. It's a difficult one, and it also seems to be sort of shifting sand, where laws are changing and they're different from one region to another. But just know this, if you're producing a cover version of a song and you're releasing it on YouTube, and this as far as I understand it and as I'm speaking to you, you do not need to get special permission from the songwriters. But if you are going to have that sound recording show up on Spotify or Apple Music, go out to other streaming services, then you need to get a license. And the way I took care of that for my version of the song is to go to Easy Song Licensing. Pretty straightforward. The next step for me was to get a backing track for the blessing, something that I could send out to my singers so they could be listening to it to sing along and then record their voice for my virtual choir. I decided to go to multitracks.com and download all the stems of Elevation Worship's version of the song. Now, I didn't intend to use all of them. I was going to replace the drums, the bass, the keyboards, all those instruments, and even add a few of my own. But I wanted to quickly produce a backing track for my singers to sing to. Within Multitracks, I was able to shift the key from B to B flat, which is going to be better for our purposes. And I was also able to, in a digital audio workstation, shorten the song from Elevation's 8.5-minute version to 7 minutes. And that was what I used to produce backing tracks for my singers. Moving forward in the project, I knew that we would need to be able to have some large file sharing and cloud storage capabilities. We went to Dropbox and to Google Drive to make sure that happened. There's going to be a lot of files going forwards and backwards, and some of them quite big when we're talking about video. Once I had those things in place, now it was a matter of getting the information out to our singers. Now, you might be working with just the singers and maybe the instrumentalists and technicians within a particular church or a town or a city, maybe 3 churches getting together, but I was doing a national effort. I partnered together with a few different Christian networks across New Zealand and also put up a simple Facebook event to invite people to our virtual choir. That seemed to work pretty well for us. That Facebook event had the information that people would need to get interested. And there were 5 steps that people needed to follow if they wanted to join our choir. Step number 1 was they had to access the resources Dropbox. It had the backing tracks in it. It also had a version of the song by Elevation, but pitch shifted to B flat and edited to our 7 minutes so that people could be learning the song. Also, we had charts and lyrics and notation, and I even added some guide piano to make the harmonies and the melody a little bit simpler. But that was all available from that Dropbox. Step number 2 for our choir members was to read, to understand, and be prepared to follow my instructions. I had worked really hard and was actually pretty proud of a 3-page document that I wrote that talked about all sorts of things like how people needed to learn the song and not have to read lyrics when they're recording their video. We want it to be landscape, not profile. We want it to have no background noise, and how people should go about all the lighting and the effects and the situation they should be in when they're videoing. And, you know, it turns out that not many people read 3 pages of instructions. Maybe especially singers don't read 3 pages of instructions. Now, we were able to cope with everything that we got, but in hindsight, I think I should have made a little instructional video, maybe a little bit like this one, to demonstrate what I meant. Nevertheless, you'll need to decide what sort of instructions you want your choir members to be following so that you get the video submissions that you can use. Step number 3 for my choir members was that they should make their videos. And I allowed a window of time for that of about 2 weeks so that people could get themselves organised, get excited, learn the song and make the video. I did actually have to stretch that deadline, and I even chased a few people after that who I really wanted to have involved. But we've got to give them that window of time, not too short, not too wide, so they're not feeling panicked, but they're also pretty excited to get involved. Once our choir members had successfully videoed their vocal performance, we wanted to get some information from them and the upload of the finished video. We did this through a pretty simple Google form. We had people get a link and fill out this form that gave us basic information like name and an email address in case we needed to contact them. but we also wanted their church affiliation because we wanted to include that in the videos, what part of New Zealand they were from. And because we had quite a few kids who were submitting and we wanted to have those children's faces and voices in our video, we needed to have an opportunity to get permission from their parents or their guardians to use this video in the blessing. Once people completed that form and hit the submit button down there, then they were given a Dropbox link so they could then upload their video. We didn't want to have the video upload without that information being in place. Step 5, I told my choir members, was just to sit back and stand by for the launch. And I actually wrote these words: give us a week or so. I cannot believe how naive I was. A week or so. That's how long I thought it would take to bring these videos together into a completed video project. Mind you, I was thinking I might get 20, 30 video submissions, but we ended up getting vocal submissions from over 200 people, and there were a lot more moving parts than I was expecting. About 2 months later is when we managed to send the video out on August 20 of 2020, right during the second lockdown from New Zealand. So I guess the timing wasn't that bad after all. Now that we had all these different vocal video submissions flowing in through Dropbox to our central hub, the behind the scenes production job really got started. And I want to break this production job down into 5 different areas. The first one was the production of the vocal videos. And I found this one to be really, really difficult. My wife, Brooke, actually ended up helping me with this. And this is basically looking at all the videos, assessing them, working out which ones looked great, which ones were recorded really well audio-wise, and which ones had people who were great singers or where they were on the scale of singers. We had to categorize them. We chose some particular voices to be what we call hero voices. Voices that would be either solo or in small groups of 2, 4, maybe up to 9 singers at a time, when the viewer of our finished product video would really be able to hear those voices. Then there were a whole lot of voices that we were relegating to be part of the mass choir. And there were some voices we didn't end up using. We were committed to using every face that we were sent, but honestly, we did not use every voice. The second area of production that we delved into was for musical instruments. Even though we had access to the Elevation Worship original tracks, we wanted to replace those for New Zealand instruments, drums, bass, keyboards, and so on. We even added some traditional Māori instruments to enhance our version, our instrumental backing track, so it was of a particular unique and Kiwi Aotearoa flavour. Now, a couple of instruments, a small brass section from the Salvation Army and an acoustic guitar, we included in the video as well. But for the most part, our musical instruments were behind the scenes. The third area of production we need to talk about is the audio, and we need to sort of understand that there's a point in this project where it's actually really helpful to think about audio sort of heading away on one tangent and video heading away on another tangent, and certainly they need to be in touch with each other and developed in coordination with one another, but ultimately we need to deal with the audio side of things and the video side of things and bring them together at the end. Now, I didn't do all the audio production work on my own. I didn't do all the video production work on my own. I had some people who were helping me out with all that. But yeah, audio production, which involved editing vocals, a little bit of pitch correction where needed, editing groups of people into little choirs that we could add and stack together, and really treating our hero vocals very carefully and matching them up well. So there's a lot of work to do on the audio production side of things, just dealing with the sound. Similarly, with the video editing and the production work done there, a lot of thinking about how the overall video is going to look, integrating the text information on there, framing different singers, bringing together different combinations of singers, and working really hard to make it look right. And certainly the audio and video sides of the project needed to be in touch with each other, but we only brought them all together at the end. So yeah, that was the video editing, quite a task, and I didn't do the video editing, I had a lot of help with that. But it was my job to do the overall coordination of all this, making sure we were all on the same path and had the same vision, and bringing it all together at the end. Now maybe your virtual choir video is going to be just with 5, 8, 12 singers, something like that. But much bigger than that, you're really going to have to involve some pretty high-end engineering. On the audio side, I needed to rely on the input of several different pro-level audio technicians. And the standard software that they're using right now to do everything we needed done with those vocals and the instruments and to bring it all together, the mixing and the mastering, was done on a combination of Logic Pro X or Pro Tools. And so you'll need to have someone involved in your project who's really good at one of those. Similarly, on the video side, we've got to have pro-level video. You're not going to get this done on iMovie. So the two industry standards in this area, as far as software goes, is Final Cut Pro and also Adobe Premiere. And I didn't have to know how to use those, but I had to get people involved who know how to use them and use them well to bring the final product together. And it's probably worth mentioning again on that video side that a lot of these virtual choir videos, especially ones that represent a region, like a city or a state or a country, as it was for the Blessing Aotearoa New Zealand video, we wanted to have some landscape video. Now, we didn't send out drones and video mountains and beaches. No, one of our video editors had a subscription with Envato, and that's where we got the amazing scenery that you see in our prelude and our postlude. Now, while I wasn't hand-on with all the audio production side of things, actually doing the editing and the mixing and the mastering, and while I wasn't completely hands-on with all the video editing and how the whole video looked, I was certainly coordinating all of that effort. And that involved a lot of phone calls between the different teams, a lot of emails, a lot of text messages, FaceTime, Zoom calls, all that and more. But also we found it really useful to use a couple of the Google products. We used some Google documents and Google Forms to map out the song and just have places where we could communicate with each other so we knew exactly how to keep the audio and the video side of things on track so that we would meet up at the end. When we finally had the finished product, it was sounding as good as we could make it, looking as good as we could make it, and we brought those together. We were ready to release. And we did that with an online premiere through Facebook Live. It was August 20 of 2020, and in this room, my wife, who was the co-producer, and I sat together. We gave a little bit of an introduction using a camera like this, and we just spoke about the project for a few minutes, and then we played it for the first time as part of that Facebook Live event. That was, again, a Facebook event that we're inviting people to attend. And immediately after that Facebook Live event, the video itself had been uploaded to YouTube and to Facebook, and then it was available freely. It was out to the world, and never has the distribution of a song or a song video like this been so easy than it is right now. And so what kind of benefits, positive outcomes, can we see from a virtual choir song video project like the one I was involved with, the Blessing Aotearoa New Zealand? Well, I've got to tell you, while producing this song video has been perhaps the most challenging musical, creative, artistic thing I've ever done. It nearly killed me. In fact, at one point I was thinking about renaming the song from The Blessing to The Burden. I'm kidding around. But honestly, I can tell you, it's been the most rewarding thing I've ever done too. We put the song video up on YouTube and Facebook maybe about 6 weeks ago. And I'm pleased to be able to tell you that on YouTube, we see that we have over 400,000 views. And on Facebook, over 900,000 people have been reached. Whatever that means in Facebook world, I'm not really sure. Now, I don't want to get my sense of validation from the number of views and the number of people reached, but I can tell you what has moved me deeply. It's the number of people who've connected either through the comments or with more personal email, phone calls, text messages about how this song has moved them. And it's not just that they like the song. The comments go beyond that. There's something, I believe, of God's kingdom, of something of eternal work that's happening through this song that I find very especially gratifying. To think that something that me and a team of other people, including 200 singers and instrumentalists across New Zealand, have been involved with is making some difference. And a lot of the comments from people are from people who are not of the Christian faith. They see something positive, something godly coming through this message of God's blessing. And I, for one, feel absolutely privileged to be part of something that expresses God's words of blessing on a world that's in such a tough state as it has been in 2020. You know, we didn't really set out to do it, but we ended up producing a piece of art that shows unity, diversity, but unity. people of different ethnicities, different ages, different styles, different flavors, different vocal ability, different everything was involved in our song video. And I think that message of unity despite diversity, maybe unity because of diversity, comes through clearly in not just The Blessing video, but many others as well. And I'm especially pleased that we had a lot of different Christian denominations featured in our video. This is one of the reasons why we put the different church names on the screen. People of the Christian faith, we agree, I think, on the most important fundamental truths of the Christian faith. Move too far away from that, you can find some differences. But I really believe that as we love one another and as we work together on projects like The Blessing, then a deeper and real church unity can be a sort of happy byproduct. And I think about what Jesus prays for us in John 17:21, where he prays that all of them may be one, Father. Just as you are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us. And this is the kicker to me. So that the world may believe that you have sent me. Now, I don't know if that's completely true of our situation, but I do get a sense from a lot of the comments coming through that there is something of who God is coming through The Blessing. And so I've been really pleased to be part of this. I hope you'll get involved in your own project around the song The Blessing or any other. And may the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and give you peace. Thanks for watching.